Are you a lawyer looking to grow your firm, but you're not quite sure on how to structure your website for a multi-location law firm? Well, this video is all about that. And my guest today is Tony Carls. Tony is my partner and co-founder of Sterling Lawyers, but he is currently the president of Rocket Clicks, which focuses on helping lawyers grow their law firm using the same methodologies we've used to grow our firm from $0 to $15 million. So my name is Jeff Hughes and I'm the CEO of Sterling Lawyers. And my whole purpose here is to document what's working and what's not working with hopes that you can take that and you can recontextualize it and shorten your success curve. Well, thank you, Tony. Welcome back to the show. And I know that we're kind of in part two of how do you open up a new office in a new territory. And one of the factors that is so important, which I know nothing about, and you're the expert on this, is how do you prep your website to make it line up with what you need to whenever you open up a second or third or fourth location?
Yeah, so we see lots of opportunities here when we start working with new clients. Because there's really two types of sites you can have. You can have a single location site, or you can have a multi-location site, and they're very different. So before we go to multi-location, rules for a single location site are you should have your map embed and your name, address, and phone number, your NAP, in the footer. You should have a contact us page with the same information there, but that's basically how you should set it up.
You're talking about a one location law firm, right?
Correct.
So you have one address, and that's how you would do it on your website, your firm's website.
That's the correct way to do it when you're single location. I would put a caveat on that, assuming you don't want to be multi-location in the future. So when we started sterlinglawyers.com, we did not start it like a single location site. And that did make it more difficult for us at the beginning, but it saved us a ton of time and re-indexing when we went multi-location. So we knew that up front. And the reason it's harder when you're single is essentially your location page needs to outrank everybody else's homepage. So it's a much harder thing to do. It becomes a lot easier when you're multi-location because of all the different backlinks and citations you can get because you're multi-location. If we compare that to a multi-location site, what you need is a location hub. And that's basically a page on your site that's just titled locations, and it has essentially links to all the locations that you have. If you have two, they should both be on there. If you have the amount we have, 26, I think we have, was it 19 or 20 in Wisconsin? All 20 are on that location page in Wisconsin, 6 are in Illinois, or on the Illinois location page. Then every single one of those locations needs its own page. And that should be the only place your NAP shows up, your name, address, phone number, and that should be the only place that the actual map embed from your Google business profile is embedded on your site. Mm-hmm. Do pictures, you can use addresses for other map embeds to do a little dot thing, make a better user experience, all that stuff. But when you're multi-location, what you want Google to do is clearly identify this page as your Milwaukee page, and this page as your Madison, and this page as your Appleton. If you do it wrong, or you have your map embeds and NAP, name, address, phone number for all these locations in the footer, Google's not going to figure out as easily which page is for which location. Mm-hmm. What that's going to do is you're going to rank worse for it. Your map ranking is going to be worse. So it's really important that the site structure is done correctly and the right markings from a technical SEO perspective are done correctly and on the correct pages, or you will be intentionally, maybe unknowingly, but you're intentionally confusing Google. And that essentially is going to reduce your lead flow in organic, which is probably going to decrease your overall marketing opportunity, marketing budget, because those are your free leads. We should optimize for those first.
So are you distinguishing between organic traffic and traffic that comes from a map, or are they one and the same to you?
They're two different things. They're linked, but they're two very distinct traffic sources.
So whenever you're confusing Google with how you've structured your site, Google sees that and it gets confused. And so it just doesn't send as much traffic to your site at that point because it doesn't know for sure where you're located.
Yeah, it will essentially flip flop between your homepage and maybe another page that mentions if you're in Appleton and in Milwaukee and in Madison and you do this wrong, it will just mention a bunch of different pages that aren't as optimized as your Appleton page. Your Appleton page is perfectly optimized for Appleton. The rest of your site isn't, obviously, because you shouldn't do that.
Here in Wisconsin, we've got our 3, what we call hub offices, regional offices. We have one in the Milwaukee area, in a suburb of Milwaukee called Menominee Falls. That's staff. That's where we have everyone go to as a primary place of doing their work for that team. That's one. Then we have our northern Wisconsin office, which is in a community called Appleton, which is up kind of like by Green Bay. It's in that what we call the Fox Valley, and that's the other one. And the third one is in Madison, which is our state capital, which is about an hour west of our Menominee Falls office. So that's our 3 hub offices, but then we've got 20 plus satellite offices. They could be 10 minutes, 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, but 10 minutes at least away from one of our other offices, our hub offices now, right? So when you're talking about structuring our sterlinglawyers.com website to handle that much diversity in terms of geos and communities, this is the playbook you found that works.
Yeah, and we tested it and failed a bunch of times, especially at the beginning, the first year. First year, we were like trying to make this thing go. What ended up happening is doing it wrong. We ended up with this problem where one week our Menominee Falls office would be busy, but our Madison office wouldn't have anything to do. And then it flipped, and it flipped, and it flipped, and we had to fix it because there were several different issues. One of them was partially how we structured the site. The other one was how we used exact match anchor text and over-optimized our backlinks.
So Google was just confused. They would say, okay, this is Madison's the site today. And so they would get all the traffic. And then, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And it really screwed with the operation. And it was like, because then you hear it from your team. Oh, I'm not busy. Oh, now I'm not busy. And then it's like back and forth. And it was, that's not sustainable. You can't scale a business like that.
So to smooth that all out, you had to follow what you just described and giving each one of those locations its own page, its own. Am I missing anything else on that?
No, its own page. We had to scrub how we did our external backlinking. That was one of the problems. You can really mess with.
What does that mean?
So backlinks are essentially links you get from other sites to your site.
Mm-hmm.
So on the location side, if you have multi-location, what a lot of people do is they're gonna try to optimize their backlinks if you have a Milwaukee page for Milwaukee Divorce Lawyer. What you've actually inadvertently done though is for every single divorce lawyer query, you've now made Milwaukee relevant for it, but it might not be the actual correct page, because if you want Madison to show up because you're in Madison, but you have all these divorce lawyer backlinks going to your Milwaukee page, Milwaukee's going to show up because that divorce lawyer backlink that says Milwaukee Divorce Lawyer, that would be it's relevant for the Madison one, but it's not perfectly relevant, but it's more powerful. That page is more powerful, thus more relevant to Google's eyes. So it shows the Milwaukee page and not the Madison one. And now you don't get any clicks. It actually worsens your rank in Milwaukee, and your Madison team isn't busy. It just creates a bunch of issues. So site structure and then only brand or naked URLs as backlinks is the formula that we found that consistently works in every single location we've launched.
Naked URL, what is that?
Just the URL. So,
okay.
So
you want to link in just to sterlinglawyers.com, not sterlinglawyers.com.
No, you link it to the location page, but it just says sterlinglawyers.com /Wisconsin /locations /Milwaukee. It doesn't say Milwaukee Divorce Lawyers.
Okay. So that's how you smooth out our traffic flow. So you're not having someone that's searching in Madison get our Milwaukee page.
Correct. And vice versa. That kept happening back and forth. Because then we then optimized Madison, it would get more relevant, Milwaukee would go away, Madison would show up, and then we just went back and forth for several months. And And then we're like, let's try this.
Well, hello, Jeff here. My team and I put out a weekly newsletter designed for family law practitioners to help you grow and build your practice. So if you go to my website at jsterlinghughes.com, that's Hughes, that's jsterlinghughes.com, and subscribe, it would mean the world to me. And what I will do for you there is I will send you weekly content to help you build and grow your practice, as well as news and developments in the greater world of family law. Thank you, and back to the show. So what else do you need to do on your website to properly use these locations?
Those would be the main things, like optimizing a location page. There's a very specific way you should do your map embeds. That makes a big difference in an unoptimized way a lot of the time, because you actually have a very specific, powerful URL that is your GDP. You have to find your CID and link it that way. I don't know what CID stands for. It's just
Okay. You know, I was going to ask you that question.
No idea. It's something ID. I don't know what the C stands for. Maybe customer, maybe client. I'm not sure. In their database, it's marked, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that one specific URL is essentially an extraordinary, powerful backlink. So if you're feeding it instead of the weird one that shows up when you search for your brand in the maps, you're going to get way more link equity back to your site. So there's a lot of like technical things that you can do to make these pages work better. The site structure, though, you can do all the technical stuff in the world. If your site isn't structured, well, it won't work. It will fail you. So we see a lot of times where people will have their locations on every single page because they think it's going to make it better for the user, and it actually doesn't. It makes you look less local, which makes you then look big, and people have predisposed beliefs about big companies. So then how are you addressing those with how are you putting reviews on your site and do different things to combat that? So we see that a lot, and then they're also interlinked, and it just confuses Google. Google doesn't know what page is about what thing. So then we see poor ranking in maps and in organic.
You mentioned something kind of counterintuitive there from a B2C lawyer standpoint. So serving clients versus businesses. You have found that when clients feel like they're dealing with a smaller entity, they're more likely to reach out than a large law firm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a kind of a break point that it matters for them from a size standpoint?
I don't know. The things that proved it to me are how we thought about site structure and elements that we put on our site and where we put different things on our site, from a conversion rate perspective, as well as this IVR tests. So we don't have an IVR at Sterling. We have way more phone calls than most firms do. We don't use an IVR.
So an IVR is where you select one to talk to an attorney, two to get whatever. Okay. We answer the phone by a live person.
By a live person.
Yeah.
Every single time. Why? Not because it's more operationally efficient. Your hangups go down. You got way more hangups when you implement an IVR. And every time we tried it, it didn't matter whose voice, because the first time we tried it, it was my voice. And then we tried Kelly's, and then we tried Christina's, and we tried a bunch of different people's. It always saw our drop calls go way up.
Yeah.
So we got rid of it. And that improved our lead flow because now it feels smaller. So if you add, and I think that there's a lot to like, it feels big. And most people that have to use an IVR, as soon as they hear it, they think, I hate talking to the stupid automated voice thing. It never understands me. I'm just going to smash the button, hit 0. And now like, they haven't talked to anybody and they're already irritated with your brand.
Yeah. Yeah. And the downside obviously is increased cost, but we get more clients out of it. So it becomes more efficient over the long.
Yeah. Because ideally we would love if it didn't have such a negative impact on lead flow, it would be way more efficient to do 1 for new consult, 2 for current client, or some version of that, because then we could have different people on different phones and do different things and it create some operational efficiencies. But we saw like a 7 to 10% drop in call volume.
Yeah.
Which is worth it.
No, for sure. So anything else I haven't asked you around best practices on prepping your site to handle multi-locations?
The other thing we did is we started our site out multi-state. It's another thing that we've seen with some of our bigger clients. They set their site up as if they're only going to operate in one state, and then when they get into 2, now they have a content issue. So the further you can think ahead and plan, the less problem you'll have when you get to your like continued expansion points. It's not that it can't be undone, but what happens is you need to restructure your site URLs. You got to create a whole bunch of 301s, and anytime you do that, your best case scenario is it stays even.
Mm-hmm.
It stays like status quo with where it was. That's pretty rare. Most of the time, you're worse. Most of the time, you're a little worse after the restructure, but that's going to help you go up.
Mm-hmm.
So the further ahead you can think, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah.
So, which, that can be hard. You don't know, and might not ever use it, but it's not going to actually hurt you.
Yeah. So setting it up, anticipating you might be in a different state, if there's any chance you're going to go there, is the wisest move.
Yeah, we have a client. We have two clients that like didn't think through this, and now they're in. One is like pretty far apart. It's not these states, but it's like Wisconsin and Florida.
Okay. Yeah.
That type of distance. So it's like pretty far away. So then a user comes, they see Wisconsin content, but they're actually from Florida. They're like, see you later. We've had to do a lot of work to like help reorganize the UX before we do a site restructure. And then another one is right on the border. Mm-hmm. So state capital is right on the border of another state, and like 15, 20 minutes from another big city on the other side. And they have offices on both, and they have the same exact problem. Because now one says, it would be like one says Wyoming, one says Colorado, Utah, or whatever. So, so think in advance. If you're in the southern tip of Florida, it's probably gonna take you a long time to eat all the way north and through the Panhandle before you got to go to Georgia or Alabama. But a little different.
So like in our case, we've got offices in Wisconsin and Illinois. So whenever we shoot a video or do an article on custody, we got to call it custody in Wisconsin and parentage or allocation of parental responsibilities in Illinois. So we have to do dual content for that.
Correct.
So if you're ever in a position where you might think you might have to open to a next state, you can structure your site in the beginning. So that's much easier when that time comes.
Yeah. So we essentially have at Sterling, we have our main root URL. There's not much on that subdomain or on that folder structure. Where most of our content is /Wisconsin or /Illinois. And then that's where all of the content lives. But then it's all state specific, and we can build all of it out. Essentially, as those are two sites that are independent, but obviously they're all on one domain. But it makes it feel unique and different, and you can do different things to cookie them, so when they come back, they're not confused and all that stuff. It just increases your conversion rates.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tony, for explaining this. I know it got kind of technical there, but you did a good job kind of bringing it down to my level so I can understand what you're saying.
Awesome. Well, yeah, appreciate it.
And how would someone get a hold of you if they have more questions?
Yeah. So president of Rocket Clicks, we have a team that's fully dedicated to working on law firms. So if you want help from us, you can reach out to us. Go to rocketclicks.com and fill out the form or give us a call. You'll hear from our friendly CEO, or maybe one of our growth managers now. But we'll, as we're growing. But either talk to Tyler or Liam or Matt, and they'll be happy to help you.
Well, if you found this video helpful on how to expand your firm by opening up multi-locations and structuring your website so it can best handle that, then you're really going to enjoy and find value out of this video here, staying focused on one marketing tactic at a time. And I'll see you over there.